Bat music.
He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Don't adjust your sets. Welcome to Bat Minute Returns, the podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and I hope Batman doesn't die. That was terrible. I don't know where I was going with that. The Tim Burton's 1992 Batman sequel, Batman Returns, one minute at a time. Whew. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
And here to hack your heart and steer you through Gotham streets, it is I, John Parker.
And people might notice that today's guest is not Heidi Minutes, who was here the previous 2 minutes, because as we started to record her third minute, she had a blackout in her house, and we tried to reschedule stuff, and it was going back and forth for a couple of weeks because she's very, very busy, and we couldn't get her, so thankfully we've had another guest graciously step in to take her place. We have here from Prince Track by Track, movies minute by minute Svengali of sorts, Darren Husted.
Hello.
Hey. Well, let me just say, it is not a lower tier of guest. Oh no, this is a top tier guest. You guys have heard Darren before.
Oh yeah. Oh, returning from last season as well, Darren. Like, he's a known entity around these parts. This fella.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about Svengali. I mean, I've only produced 4 minute by minute things. Is it 3?
Only 4.
Yeah.
If I did one, I would be calling myself a Svengali.
I mean, I've edited like a handful of the episodes, and I've still got. Yes, I am an editor. I've edited.
But we're here to talk today about minute 84 of Batman Returns. It begins with Batman popping his head down into the Batmobile, and it ends with a startling confession from the Penguin. So yeah, just jump on in wherever.
What I do like about this is if you ever wanted to do Penguin cosplay or something, this minute very much gives you Danny DeVito as the Penguin right in the front of the screen for like, I don't know, like 70% of it is Danny DeVito kind of like just kind of right in your face. It's a very
I'd be happy with that 100% of the time.
Yeah, it's like about as penguin-y as this film gets, I think, apart from towards the end when obviously, there's an army of penguins.
Oh, God, I can't wait for that. That's one of my favorite things in movie history.
What I kind of want to do now, though, is... Because I thought you were going a certain way with that.
I think I know what you're going to say, because I was thinking something. Go ahead.
But I'd like to get a cosplay of the Penguin where someone's actually got the little mini Batmobile around them the whole time.
That's exactly what I was picturing, like wearing it around their waist.
Yeah, I think that. There you go. That's Halloween for this year sorted.
I feel like we should do a Batman costume. Come on, I mean, we do this show and we don't do Batman costumes for Halloween.
No. It's a bit like Daniel LaRusso in The Karate Kid wearing that full shower around himself. I don't know where he got the inspiration for that, aside from the fact that it's a really good way to hide whomever was playing his love interest in that particular film. They can hide in there. But like, if someone was doing this where they had like you say, the little penguin car around them, that would be, next level costuming, I think.
Although we don't get the Karate Kid, but we do get another kind of hero. The guy who's the Johnny says what he sees, who turns the corner here and says, "There he is," and points out Batman to the crowd. I like to think that it's the same guy who was like "Hey Batman, push the princess," from like last week, and it's like, oh, you can't stop this guy. He just loves pointing things out.
Yeah, he's
Rick Ollier there.
He's the Rick Ollier of the. That's what happened when we had, Biggs was obviously in season 1, and as was Porkins. Maybe Rick Ollier also. Maybe he went and hid out in Gotham for a while. And
yeah, because if people remember, that was my running theory, was that the Biggs had actually fled the war, fled the rebellion, and he'd found a little planet called Earth, and he'd landed on Earth, and he'd got a job, got a wife, and he was hiding out, but people were pursuing him.
And of course, people who don't listen to Star Wars Minute don't know who Rick Ollier is. He's the guy from the Phantom Menace who just points out things that are very, very obvious, like, of Ivan Coruscant, and he's just like, the entire city's a planet, or the entire planet's a big city. And I think he was the guy. They released an action figure of him like early on, and everyone thought that Rick Ollier was going to be this big deal, like the new Han Solo and stuff, and he was not.
Oh, alas. And it was in the era of those talking figures, so I'm surprised it wasn't just like you are hearing me talk kind of thing.
The figures didn't talk. There was a
communicator thing.
Yeah,
wasn't
you had
it?
like a little plastic thing that you put onto the communicator and it made it talk. And I say that because I had that communicator and I had a number of figures of those plastic things. And they would just say you had to just basically touch it and then it would say a random phrase and that's it. You just had to keep doing that over and over again.
That was probably amazing when it came out, though.
Yeah, it was. It stopped working. Like whatever the interaction was, like the little thing that powered it. Like I don't know, like I can't even describe how it worked. But whatever the surface was that you touched it on, it stopped working pretty quick with mine. It was like, I don't know. I think it was about a year, and then it just like stopped working altogether. So.
Oh, that's no bloody good. Come on.
No.
It's Star Wars figures, they're supposed to last forever.
And I think it's as well, I had Darth Maul and Obi-Wan, and I think I had Padme as well. I had like those three.
Surely Darth Maul had like one line.
He had all of his lines, I think.
Yeah. At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi.
Yeah.
At last we will have our revenge.
That was pretty much it. Yeah, that was it. And I think there was one time where like I can't remember what the third phrase was, but there was a third phrase that was just him like breathing heavily. So just kind of so you could. I don't know. I wish it also had music, so each time you touched it, you got just a little tiny few seconds of Duel of Fates coming on.
Oh, that's pretty cool. But Batman.
Yes.
We will eventually talk about Batman. So Batman himself. Should we talk? He climbs into the Batmobile and he thinks he's safe in his tanky bunker.
Yeah, I do enjoy his head popping in because it has I've been watching it over and over again because you can imagine him just going, oh, like as he's popping in.
Yeah. Oh.
It's like, oh, they got me now. I will actually note though that in the Dan Waters draft, there's a whole like deleted section here that I thought was quite interesting because it adds a little element to the costume that we don't see in these movies, where he crashes as he glides in that version. I think we talked about that last minute.
Yeah,
but yeah, because the bat wings is kind of a prototype thing, so he just ends up landing flat in his ass basically. And knocks himself unconscious, and the crowd come around him, kind of a bit like in the first movie. Maybe that's why they didn't do it. They're like, it's a bit too similar to the oh, he's human after all, and all that business. But at that point, someone tries to take off his mask, and as the mask is begin to lift it, apparently a blue gas shoots out of the bat symbol in the center of his chest as a security measure, which is something I think they might have worked that into like one of the games or something. I have an image of I think it might have been in the animated series where like some like little holes open up in the mask and shoot out gas to someone who tries to take an unconscious Batman's mask off. I have to double check which episode that is, or if anyone in the audience knows which episode it is, post it in the listeners' cave. But of course that idea then would also be swiped by Chris Nolan for The Dark Knight again, when he changed it to like an electric current, and someone tries to take off the mask, they get an instant shock. But
yeah, as you said that, I thought, doesn't it give out an electric shock? And then I was thinking, where do I know that from? Where is that from? Yeah, so obviously, yeah, it's probably one of the other many Batman films.
But I think it's a good security measure for Batman to have. I think maybe I don't know if this was the very first instance, like in that script, where someone was like, "Yeah, you should put that in," Because like after like at that point, probably like 50 years of Batman, like, well, what happens if someone tries to take off his mask and then they just do, and then like, I guess you probably have to put in like security measures for that or something, and never saw it in the movies until The Dark Knight. So, but it would have been in Batman Returns.
But what if it malfunctioned and fried his face and it stuck the mask to his flesh?
You have to assume that Batman is enough of a electronics genius that wouldn't happen. I mean,
you'd hope so.
I would think to stop that from happening, you'd have to have like just a thin film of rubber on the inside, so it's always grounded, so that it couldn't, so the current couldn't pass into his body. But you would think, yeah, if there's an electric shock, it's going to travel down into his body rather than out towards whoever is trying to take the mask off. So,
Oh, well, that'll be one for the Dark Knight Minute Boys, because they actually have that in the movie, whereas we're just talking about it, going, "Oh, this could have been in it, but it's not."
Here's what you could have won.
Yeah, exactly. But at that point, then Batman wakes up and just like runs to the Batmobile, pretty much. But yeah, then we get this scene where he hops in, but turns out there's a booby trap, of a different sort within the Batmobile.
Dun, dun. Oh my God, the Penguin's there.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, he's on a screen.
I like as well how as the Batmobile goes round the corner, all these people helpfully run towards, like, they actually seem to be throwing themselves on top of the Batmobile before some of them are like, hold on a second, we should get out of the way of this vehicle. The way the extras are coming into frame, they're all like running to, like, just to make it as if like, oh no, Batman's going to run all these people over and it's going to be the Penguin who's really doing it. But all these people seem to be deliberately jumping onto the bonnet, and it's like, if they just stepped a little bit to their left, they could be out of the way of this, and
Yeah. That's such a movie thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be diving out of the way any which way. But no, in films, you can only move in straight lines.
Yes. Yeah. As Prometheus has taught us.
Yes. the worst / best example, depending which way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, though. Before the car even takes off, though, we have a little exchange with the Penguin. Because he does his, don't adjust your sets. Welcome to the Oswald Cobblepot School of Driving. Gentlemen, start your screaming. And
start your screaming. It's a very different intro to Drag Race this season, but I'll take it.
Well, I don't get the phrase, though. Like, gentlemen, start your screaming. It's like, it should be, is he going for start your engines?
Yes.
But screaming doesn't sound like engines.
I don't know. I mean, if people scream in a certain manner, I guess it could sound like some engines. I guess you could hear a bunch of people screaming next to their cars and think, are they starting their cars or are they just screaming? I
think you're both overthinking it. Yeah. It's literally just, well, he's expecting me to say engines, but I'm going to say screaming because he's going to scream with terror. That's literally it.
It feels like a Riddler move to do that kind of wordplay.
Yes.
Doesn't feel like a Penguin thing to do. Especially as like, I don't know, screaming doesn't have anything to do with penguins. If the Penguin's talking, he should always be talking in a manner that depicts him as a penguin. So he should always be making fish puns. He should always be talking about his flippers. There should be something penguin-y going on in every sentence. But just start your screaming is just a little bit too, Riddler-y for me.
We want them to be like, start flapping in terror.
There you go. Yeah, that's it.
I did notice. I put this in my own personal headcanon as well, that the leather around the screen that we can see here is that kind of pebbled like texture that I remember we made last season. We made a big point of the fact that the cape was done in that manner, like it was made that kind of material, had that kind of texture pattern on it to give the illusion of it being like bat wings. So I like to think when Bruce Wayne was building his Batmobile and he was building the Bat outfit, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to use some of the leftover material from the capes and stuff I've been making to line my car."
He bought too much of it on eBay and was like, "What am I going to do with this?"
Yeah,
I mean, he would have had to buy a ton of it anyway if he's going to be making all them capes, and You know, like
but
like I mean, I would like to think. I mean, obviously in other Batman films, they kind of explain how he kind of sets up all his his wonderful toys. But I would like to think to kind of cover his tracks, he'd be like, okay, Wayne Enterprises is now making, I don't know, leather jackets. Order me 16 tons of pleather, and I need to just to cover it up. And then people are like,
genius plan.
People are like, Bruce, you opened up like a leather shop? What's going on? Is there some kind of like what's going on there? And I would like to think he probably made like a healthy profit from just a shop that dealed in leather goods.
Yeah, I mean the Joker must have had to order a good bunch of those jackets for all his goons in the last movie. He had to hold the purple. Well, apparently it said that it was supposed to be purple leather jackets. They looked blue in the movie, but. It was like, yeah,
oh my God, we're onto it though. Bruce sold them the jacket. Holy crap.
It's like that Batman, like Bruce Wayne's got his fingers in every damn pie. You can't get away from this guy.
Yeah, at a certain point, like the Joker, when he's in that belfry, is like, hold on a second. Wayne Enterprises sold me a ton of leather jackets. And this, wait there. like he's putting it together and he's like, did I just give this guy like $50,000 for leather jackets for my henchmen?
And now he's going to kick my ass.
Yeah. It's
just as he's plummeting out of the sky, Batman's just like, shame to lose a damn good customer.
that is what the laugh at the end of the film is. He's just him realizing he's given a ton of money to the person who's just killed him. It's like
final joke.
The irony now hits me just as I hit the pavement.
Yeah. The thing is, that would suit the Joker's character to laugh at that as well. I think he would have appreciated it. So,
rest in peace. Yeah. Press F to pay respects.
But yeah, so of course then the car takes off with a mighty wallop, and as Darren was saying there, people are just jumping into it for whatever reason, going out of their way to make sure they hit this damn car. We'll also note as well, talking about reusing things, you can audibly hear the reused scream from earlier in the movie of when that guy in the unicycle was chasing that woman. Her scream has been re-looped back into the audio here, so you could take it that this is like, oh, that's lazy filmmaking, or you could say that maybe that woman finally got over the trauma of being chased by that unicycle guy, finally popped out to get a Christmas present for her ailing mother or whoever, and all of a sudden, yeah, now Batman's trying to friggin' run her over, because I guess she thought like, well, at least I know if Batman's around, I'm safe. Nope, not a chance. No.
Nobody's safe. Some of these people must be dead, right? I mean, this is a giant tank rocket car that's flying out of control. Some of these people are dead.
It's going fast enough that Batman gets pushed back by the Force. So, like that, he's like literally like squished into the car, trying to come forward. So that car's going fast. If that's what it's like, if it's putting that much exertion onto Batman. I don't know. Maybe the suit's not helping, but you got to think that that's going like at least like 80, 90 mile an hour.
It must be, sure.
Yeah, those people aren't surviving.
I guess so. I'm sure there probably are some stats that we might have even recited them on the show before, but because this is going from literal standstill to like zooming down the road, so I do wonder what the. Like, is it like 0 to 90 in the Batmobile? Like, is it like how quickly can it, reach its top speed?
Well,
I did have stats last season, didn't I? Did I provide that information?
On one of the shots,
that's going to bug me.
On one of the shots later in the minute, you can see that it's hovering between 60 and 70. Like the little dial is going really quickly between them as if it's not actually connected to anything. And it's just going back and forth like someone behind the screen is just like twisting at something to make it go backwards and forwards.
Well, I've got the stats now from last season. Right, I did have that information. The acceleration is 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds.
That's so close to being a Rihanna lyric there, but
well, it's max speed. This is all repetitive to people who've heard it before, but it was a long time ago, guys.
Everyone who's memorized every detail of season 1 will be like, "Oh, god damn it, guys! You already mentioned this."
Yeah, and its max speed is 530 kilometers an hour with the booster on. Doesn't give you it without the booster, sadly. Its fuel is a high-octane, 97% special gasoline paraffin mixture. Who comes up with this? Is this necessary information for anyone?
I mean, it is if you want to build a Batmobile, isn't it? I mean, if you know, you're going to know what to fuel it on. No. I'll say as well, it does take 3 seconds for it to go from the car starting to Batman being pushed back in his seat. So I would assume it's hit 60 quite quickly.
Yeah,
at least it's at 60 at this. Yeah, once it hits the people, that's another couple of seconds there. So
yeah, so it's probably around
80, like you said.
I do would be remiss as well. It's it's a bit critical, but like it's one of those things. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Of those shots that you were referring to, Darren, of like seeing the dials and stuff spinning. There's a bit where Batman's kind of tapping things, like trying to push plugs and stuff, and the whole thing's kind of wobbling as if it's just not attached to anything. It just looks like a rubber sheet with some dials on it that he's pressing down onto. It just looks very, very flimsy and very, very fake. But in within the context of the movie, you blink and you'll miss that. But watching it a minute at a time, you'll spot these things. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that insert shot as well is probably not Michael Keaton's hand. It's probably just some like some best boy with like a glove on, just tapping on very quickly for the insert shot.
Oh yeah,
almost definitely.
Some guy's just like trying to get laid that night, going up and like, hey, see this hand? This is Batman's hand. Yeah. And then like whoever the prospective love interest is like, I hope you and Batman's hand will be very happy by yourselves tonight. And he's like, oh, another strikeout for Batman's hand.
I love the way as well Batman's whole plan to get out of this, knowing that the Penguin has hijacked his car somehow. His plan is, I'll hit the dashboard really hard. That's it. What does he think's going to happen? It's going to reboot.
Yeah, I mean, hey, there was a point where all technology in the 80s was fixed by people just banging it really hard. Like,
I mean, yeah, he's not too wrong, I suppose. A fax machine maybe, but not a damn Batmobile.
Hey,
come on.
Worked for the Millennium Falcon,
Yeah, true. That was a long time ago, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's old-fashioned tech.
I will notice. I only really noticed as well in looking at it minute by minute. Within the Penguin setup, like he's obviously got the screen in front of him showing him what the Batmobile sees, but he's also got a little screen showing him Batman's face. But that face does not change throughout this minute, at least. Anyway, I think it might just be a shot from like the first movie or something when Vicky Vale's in the car with him, or is this some random shot of Batman just sort of sitting there in his car very calmly. Or
it's the picture that comes up when he loses video, and that's like the little avatar that comes up as with like Skype or Hangouts or something. It's just like it can't connect to Batman, so it's just a picture that Batman puts up of himself. So it's just he's just like, yeah, this is a good avatar. This is a really good side. I think I'll just put that up. If people can't get hold of me, they'll know it's Batman.
Yeah.
yeah.
That'd be like the Michael Keaton doing like posing for a profile picture. That pout is going to be going into like excess of like it's already powerful enough when it's at half mast, but when he's trying to pose with that thing, geez, those lips will pop out through the screen.
I have to say the one thing that has always irritated me about this little tiny part of the film is that, of course, the Joker's movements in his chair don't match anything that's going on with the car. Like he's just rocking backwards and forwards randomly.
Yeah,
and, it would be very difficult, I understand, for them to get it to match exactly. But it just feels like if he's going side to side, the Batmobile should be veering wildly across the road. It shouldn't just be going in a straight line and then turning the corner. Like and he's also holding onto the steering wheel like a 3-year-old at the front of the bus pretending they're driving. And so the car should literally be just going left to right really fast and just smashing into stuff. Like
absolutely, like I get what they're going for with the visual. Like, oh, he's on a ride like a little kid would go on, and they bounce around. It's like, okay, yeah, I get that, but it doesn't make any damn sense. Try and make it make a little bit of sense.
Yeah, although I do like the attention to detail that he had. It is like a bat symbol wheel, isn't it? That he's got on his on his mini like bat, which that feels like a touch that Batman would do anyways. Like have a a bat symbol shaped steering wheel in his Batmobile.
Yeah.
Like, just bat symbol upon bat symbol upon bat symbol just feels like the whole aesthetic of the the Tim Burton Batman.
So because that car would have been built by someone who hasn't seen the inside of the Batmobile, so they haven't seen what the actual wheel looks like. But I do like the idea of Bruce Wayne, but not like at a the supermarket or something, and seeing that thing and been like, oh, bat symbol steering wheel. I gotta put that in. That was a pretty good idea.
What a great thought.
Yeah, I merely had a practical steering wheel that helped me, but let's put in a steering wheel with a bunch of sharp edges that I could possibly cut myself on, or that will cut through my rubberized suit. I mean, that seems like a really good
Genius.
idea. Yeah, it'll make steering this car even more perilous, but it'll look really, really good.
That's all that matters. Aesthetics. Batman is all about the aesthetic.
Yeah, I feel like the only other person who would have done the same thing would have been Prince, who would have had like a Prince symbol shaped steering wheel in whatever vehicle he was driving, just so people know.
Oh my God,
it's Prince.
I want to see that in action. Come on, Darren, you need that in a car. Come on, you're the Prince man.
I mean, that would be, his Prince symbol would be hugely impractical because it's so dangerous.
Exactly.
How would you hold it? There's no 2 and 10 for you to get a hold of. There's like I don't know. There's like a pointy sharp bit at the bottom. It feels like the making of something that would kill you in a car crash.
Who cares when you're riding in style?
That is true, though. Maybe that's why Prince was so enthusiastic about doing that Batman soundtrack. He's like, this character does speak to me. I love putting my name and my colors and symbols on everything. That's what this guy likes doing, too. I feel a kinship with him.
Oh, kindred spirits.
Yeah,
Oh,
I understand a guy who likes reducing himself down to merely a squiggle on his chest. I can relate to that kind of guy. Yeah. And of course, he did have his symbol in Purple Rain. It's on his bike. He's got a little symbol on there. So
yeah.
So he before Batman, he had a symbol on his own vehicle, so that everybody knew who it belonged to. Although I don't see anybody else getting on a purple bike outside of a club and being like, "Wait there, this isn't my bike."
I could have sworn it was mine.
Why is Apollonia sitting on this? I think this is someone else's bike, isn't it?
I mean, everybody's got a giant purple motorbike.
I mean, yeah. I would expect in the Twin Cities, yeah, everyone's got them. It's the place is rife with it.
I've got 2 or 3 out back.
I mean, I think that was one of the points we brought up in the Purple Rain review. Was that like, oh yeah, because this guy is like a fairly successful musician in his mid-20s, can afford that bike, can afford all the Prince clobber. Yet for some reason he's still living with his parents. It's like, if you can afford that bike, get the hell out of there, man. What the hell are you doing sticking around?
He must have loads of money laying around somewhere. Yeah, those clothes alone must be thousands.
Yeah. In all fairness to Prince, in real life, in the early 80s, he made the band's outfits. He actually bought them from thrift stores and then changed them and put frills on them or whatever and actually made them. So
what a hero.
Yeah. So I expect that's meant to carry over into the film. You're meant to think he made the Revolution's clothes rather than he has lots of money.
It's a bit too polished, but okay. Yeah. I'll accept it. I'll go with it.
We're still distracted by the fact that like his hair is so fantastically coiffed that looks like he's put more product in it that would like cost me my budget for food for the week, pretty much. Like,
I would assume that Prince just woke up like that. I don't think there's any product in that. It's all natural. It's got to be all natural.
Well, it is kind of flat in one side, so I guess that's the side I sleep on. I just woke up like this. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
he's that perfect an individual. That just naturally happens.
He sleeps on one side, and on the other side, he has Apollonia doing his hair overnight, so that when he wakes up, it's perfect.
I could fully have imagined a scene in one of those Prince movies where he just had a woman doing his hair while he slept. That would fit with Prince.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like, I'm going to sleep. I'm going to be awake in 6 hours. When I wake up, get up at 4 and just make a start on it so that when I wake up,
it better be done.
Yeah. Yeah. We got to go riding out on a bike later on. We need it to be looking really good.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. But we would be remiss, though, if we didn't mention the fact that this scene would later inspire an episode of Batman the Animated Series, like an episode called The Mechanic, where we discover the Batmobile, wherein we discover that Batman has a mechanic, like kind of on retainer mechanic for the Batmobile, a fellow called Earl Cooper, who's voiced by Paul Winifred, who's like, you know Paul Winifred. He's in Wrath of Khan. He's one of the guys. He's the not Chekhov guy who gets the weird earworm thing put in that takes over his mind and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He's in the Terminator and stuff as well. But and the Penguin finds out about this through like an accountant and stuff who's able to sort of do some various cross checkings and whatnot, and eventually says to him like, "Oh, it seems like this Earl Cooper guy, he's got a lot of money coming in for this and that, and there's all these weird parts he's ordering and things." And so the Penguin finds out that Earl Cooper's one customer is Batman, and of course then utilizes this by abducting his daughter and then making Earl do a bunch of stuff so that the Penguin can control the Batmobile. And then we pretty much just get this scene throughout the episode where he takes over, and he's not doing it. And it's weird that the cartoon is less cartoony in that he's not sitting in a little mini Batmobile himself, but he's just got like a little remote control thing, which is less, one of the few times the animated series got a bit like, oh, you didn't do anywhere near as cool as what Batman Returns did. We'll also mention, though, that in that episode, not only do you have Paul Winifred, but that accountant character was voiced by John Delancey.
Oh!
People would know as Q from Star Trek. I was like, but he's a really small part, and he gets killed in like the first... He gets killed by the Penguin, throws him into the duck, like the giant rubber duck mobile he has, and then like sets that off by itself, and then he's in the sewer, and then he gets sucked into like a whirlpool in the sewer. That's very cartoony right there. That there's a giant whirlpool in the sewer right next to the Penguin's hideout and stuff.
Yes, I love here the Penguin comes out with another great quip. I mean, that's all he does throughout this whole damn film. But he says, "My license is expired."
Oh, yeah.
And it made me think, like, imagine if he did actually have one in the past, right? Was his address the zoo? The sewer? What would be on his license?
I would have loved for Batman to push back on that and being like, Oswald, when did you ever take the driving test? And where did you take the driving test? And who passed it so that it would then expire? Also,
yeah, that's more important questions there.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oswald, I don't think you understand how driving tests work.
He clearly doesn't. Look at him in that damn little car,
yeah, he's just rocking
about the
back
place.
And forth.
According to the story, he didn't know his name was Oswald Cobblepot before he looked it up. So
yeah,
unless he got a license and it expired within like 2 days or something.
Yeah.
No, it was to Mr. P.N. Gwynn.
No, yeah. I suppose though, like maybe like when he was working in the circus, because I guess maybe he was driving the duck boat around then as well. Like it was part of the rides, but maybe there was like that was like a kind of like a golf caddy cart or something. Like, oh yeah, well, you need to go around the circus. You just drive around in the duck. Wow. So maybe then, like when they had young Oswald Cobblepot, and maybe then they called him, Penguin Boy or something like that. Maybe they did send him like, you need a license to drive this vehicle.
No.
So
we all know carnies don't play by the rules. They don't get proper paperwork.
Their license was like on and forward. There you go. You're now qualified.
Done.
That's it. Off. That's it.
When...
That's everything now. There's no possible things we can teach you about this. Also, don't rock from side to side when you're in when you're driving. It's not. You're just going to end up driving the duck all over the place, and it's going to make a big mess. You're going to damage the fiberglass.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you mention on and forward, right? Because when I used to live in Pakistan, right, you basically you buy your driving license, you give them like I can't remember, the equivalent of like £20 or whatever it is, and the test is basically, can you start it? Can you go forward? Can you stop? It's like, yeah, there you go. Done.
Maybe like we're just missing out. Maybe the circus went to Pakistan, and that's where he got the license.
Strangely enough, I imagine the US is the same, but a a Pakistan obtained license doesn't transfer over to the UK.
But the thing is, John, could you then say that license has expired? Because then technically what he's saying is correct.
We're on to him.
Oh, I can't imagine the Penguin in the Pakistan heat, though. I don't think he would go well with that.
Can you imagine me in the Pakistan heat? It was torturous.
No.
I'm pale as anything. I'm redheaded. Jesus.
Well, I was going to say, like, oh, again, this sounds like I'm pale. That sounds like the Penguin. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we want now, the next iteration of the Penguin, make him a redhead, guys. Come on. I want to see it.
It would only make sense.
Yeah.
You know, I like as well how when we get the insert shot of the thing that is controlling the Batmobile, it's like gigantic. It's like
it's ridiculous. There's no need.
There's no way that thing is fitting. That Batmobile is low to the ground. There is no way that's fitting under there with its little twirly aerial. Like, why is there a twirl in that aerial? What does that do?
That's an excellent point, actually. Though,
like
unless the Batmobile goes up in the middle, that would be hitting the ground, because where every other shot you see, it's like the lowest car you've ever witnessed.
Yeah, like deliberately so. Like, you know, that's like the whole point of the Batmobile is it's low to the ground. So this little shot of like the clearance underneath it, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. Although, you know, I guess it's just there, obviously, you know, the language of film, so that the viewer is like, oh, this is how he's controlling it. like for a brief second, but there's just way too much clearance, and also way too many lights as well. Like, you know, what is this, Airplane 2? You know, why are the lights blinking? Like who is to see that? Like, I don't understand, but you know, I guess it's
you want to keep it hidden. Surely you don't want to draw attention to it with the lights.
Yeah, the Penguin's like, stick on a green light and a blue light and a couple of red lights on there. Let's really light this thing up so everybody knows that there's a secret like controlling thing underneath the car. Like we've got the remote control attached.
He just wants it to look festive. He can't help himself.
No, I mean, it brings up the same question we had with some of the Joker stuff, where, you know, at one point he had like a megaphone that was painted orange because it's like, well, it's the Joker. He likes bright, colorful, friggin' clownish looking things. So we had to go like, well, I guess he would have just got a normal loudspeaker and painted it orange. But this little ball thing, like, that's done in the kind of, you know, the candy stripes, the white stripes that the
white stripes.
Yeah. That we see like throughout the movie, but the thing they use to build the little device, did it just come like that? Or did the Penguin or somebody say, like, paint it white and red? I like that design. Like,
it needs to look more circusy. Come on.
Yeah, it's just like, it is just kind of like, oh, just for aesthetics. No one's going to see it, except us when we're putting it in. But if someone was underneath the Batmobile watching this thing and seeing it spin around, you would say, oh, yeah, that's aesthetically pleasing to look at.
It really fits with the whole branding. I think as well, there is a certain level of irony that this is a film that features a character who hangs around with everyone at the circus, and the villain in it is not the Joker.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's very much like, he kind of touched on it earlier, but it is very much like Tim Burton kind of got hung up on circus freaks, because he's just like, yeah, I did one. I got to do the Joker, but I only got him as one clown.
Yeah.
If I'm going to go back, I want to do a whole bunch of clowns and then someone even freakier looking than the Joker. And the whole thing's got to be circus based. It's like, the Penguin has nothing to do with the circus, man. What are you talking about?
Circus and Christmassy based. Like, okay. I mean, you know, I guess it's a look. But I also think, like, are there other villains who also have, like, remote control things that they stick to other people's cars to control them? And this is decorated in this manner, so people look at it and they go, oh, the Penguin's already controlling this car. We can't stick one on it. We got to find. We got to find it.
Yes, the city's rife with it.
Yeah, I would just love to see like a bunch of goons underneath the car, like all with their own individual branded like remote controls, trying to attach them to the Batmobile. And they see that one and they're like, "Oh, sorry lads, but Penguin got in first, so you know."
You've got to respect your fellow crook.
Yeah, rules of the garishly dressed villains is whoever gets there first with their branded remote control is the one who gets to control the Batmobile. You'll have to do.
Well, that would explain why every single thing is branded.
Yeah, Well, you've got to know who's doing the evil, haven't you? I mean, at the same time, everyone's got to have a secret identity, but you've also got to have a lot of really clear branding so everyone can distinguish, who is doing what.
The thing is, you think like the Penguin's branding would be something Umbrella based, because you saw that thing. You might be like, white and red. Is it Two-Face? Because he's got one half of his face is skin color and the other half is red.
I mean, is it
like
the Condiment King? Because one is like ketchup and the white is mayonnaise. Like, what's going on here? Who's committing the evilhood here?
Yeah, you think the Penguin should have had, like, instead of the little twizzly thing, it should have been like a little umbrella sticking out. But
I mean, later on they go heavy on the rubber duck aesthetic. Why wasn't it a little tiny rubber duck upside down with a little Ariel sticking out of his head?
Yes, that is true. Yeah, could have been a rubber duck. That would have worked as well. But
too late now.
Yeah, of course. Then that the rubber duck, the nefarious device would be swiped by the Riddler. In the next movie, when he's throwing little rubber duck bombs around the Batcave, maybe at that point, it's like, oh no, the Penguin's dead. So you get to swipe whatever the hell design you want to do then.
It's like an underground auction when each supervillain gets killed, where they're like, okay, next up on the block, a bunch of rubber ducks. And, the Riddler's like 20,000, and Mr. Freeze is like 50,000, and then the Riddler's like 100,000. It's like, okay.
Well, you might as well. It's all going to waste.
Yeah. Someone has gone to the trouble of designing all this stuff. We've got to at least recycle it. I mean, it's...
And I think the surviving goons are included in the auction as well.
Yeah.
Because clearly these are the Joker's guys. Come on, they must be.
We've got a job lot of goons. There's 50 assorted goons. They've all got very long-term contracts. 6 years. They're unionized, so unfortunately you might have to deal with some of that. But the guy who represents the union's fairly good at negotiation, so you might be able to get him for a good rate.
I can imagine though, like the Joker's guy has been like, okay, so we get to go to a new boss. Thank God we don't have to deal with any clown crap anymore. And it's like, guys, have I got an aesthetic for you?
Oh God damn.
It's like, this is worse than the last time. I missed those Bruce Wayne bought leather jackets we had from way back when.
And at least that guy was actually a damn clown.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, at least he tried to, broaden our minds. What are we doing here? We're just running around the streets, sticking stuff onto other stuff, getting hit by acrobats. It's, it's not a good life being a goon for hire.
But yeah, that's pretty much the end of the action for this minute. This time, do you have anything else you want to say about this minute in particular, or?
No, I just enjoy seeing the Batmobile go all Grand Theft Auto and smash the police out of the way. It's pretty fun.
But at this point, though, we would always ask the guests if they have any strong feelings on the film in general. So, Darren, do you remember like the first time you saw this, or was this an integral part of your experience in the 90s, or were you fairly indifferent to Batman Returns?
Batman came out on my 12th birthday or around my 12th birthday, and it was the first ever 12 certificate film. So I very much remember that. I didn't see it at the cinema. I very much remember that as being like a part of me being 12. And this film was 15 rated when it came out over here in Britain. And I was 15 when it came out. So I seem to have this weird thing of Batman films coming out on significant birthdays for me, or birthdays where I reach certificates. But I didn't see this at the cinema, but I do recall very strongly seeing a Batman Returns standee in a cinema after I'd seen Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey with a couple of friends. And I remember seeing it and being like, oh, they've made a sequel to Batman. and that's about as much as I thought about it. And I never saw it at the cinema, but I did borrow it on VHS from a friend of mine, like about, 2 years after that. And I think the first time, and that was the first time that I watched it properly. And then I think I remember that, there was like a network premiere of it on like BBC One or something, like a couple of years after that. Like it was probably about 4 years after it'd been out of the cinema. And I remember recording it off the TV and watching it, and really enjoying it. Probably a lot more than Batman, even though obviously Batman has a soundtrack by someone who I have done 500 episodes of a podcast about. But I don't know. I just think that the film, has a more kind of even tone, and it seems to like. obviously everyone knows the stories of like the frantic rewrites of the first film and stuff being like
Oh,
reshot at the last minute. Whereas this does feel like Tim Burton was like, hold on a second. I made a ton of money. I am doing the film I exactly want, and it just coincidentally happens to have Batman in. And I think I kind of dig that. I mean, the kind of the run of like Tim Burton from like Beetlejuice, and then through Batman, and then was it Edward Scissorhands was in between this and and then this and then Ed Wood. Which I think Ed Wood, I never saw that cinema either, but I do distinctly recall renting it from Blockbuster in like 1996, I think, something like that.
Oh, that's still quick off the draw there, because I didn't see Ed Wood for years. Bloody hell.
I think it was Ed Wood and there was something else. I think it was a Todd Solondz film. It might have been Welcome to the Dollhouse. I think I rented both of those and watched them together, so they're kind of linked in my mind. But yeah, so that run of Burton from like Beetlejuice through to Ed Wood, I think is, I think you could stack that up against pretty much any filmmaker, and it's a really strong run of films. Some people would also argue for Big Top Pee-wee or Pee-wee's Big Adventure, whichever Pee-wee was it. Big Adventure he did, wasn't it?
Big Adventure, yeah.
I'm not as much a fan of that, simply because I really cannot take Pee-wee Herman for more than a couple of seconds before
That's interesting you say that, because whenever we say to Americans who come on the show that we don't really know Pee-wee that well. It wasn't a thing here. No. They're baffled. They don't understand why we're not into Pee-wee.
No, we had Rainbow. Why would we need Pee-wee Herman? And no one from Rainbow got caught in a cinema doing something to themselves. But yeah, so like, the scene where Pee-wee Herman has like the description of how his bike was stolen, and he has all the different exhibits, and it kind of keeps escalating. That's a funny scene. The rest of the film, I'm not really that sold on. So from Beetlejuice to Ed Wood, I think that's kind of peak Tim Burton for me. And then I've never really seen Mars Attacks. And then I saw Planet of the Apes at the cinema, and I was like, "What is this? What am I doing here? Why did I watch this film?" And I think
definitely watch Mars Attacks. Ignore Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've already paid to see Planet of the Apes, so.
Mars Attacks is great. I really love that movie. So, we may be covering it in a lot more depth. Maybe post this season. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was put off by... I think I saw the trailer for Mars Attacks. I don't know if you recall this being a thing, but there used to be a time where film magazines over here would give you a VHS that had a bunch of trailers on for films.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the Mars Attacks trailer was on some, like on like Empire's, summer of 96 or whatever it was, VHS. And I think I remember watching a lot of the trailers, and it got to that one, and I was like, I don't know what this is. And then reading up about it, and it's like, oh, it's based on some bubblegum cards that Tim Burton liked when he was a kid. And I'm like, I think you'll find I'm out right there. I mean,
that is weird. Let's be honest. That makes it a hard sell when you bring that part up.
And I was like, no, thank you very much. I think I'm done. And then, I mean, I've seen like Big Eyes and Sleepy Hollow, and I saw Alice in Wonderland in 3D. Like I've seen enough Tim Burton to know that I've kind of I don't know. Ed Wood was probably the last Tim Burton film that I enjoyed.
Although actually thinking now, because this is out this episode will be out next Friday, which will be the 29th. I think this is the day Dumbo releases. This will be the day I'll probably wander out to watch Dumbo to see like, oh, what the hell is this thing gonna be?
I mean, I'll probably do the same thing myself, but simply because obviously it reunites the stars of this minute.
That's very much like I would have given it like a pass because it's like, oh, it looks very schmaltzy. But now I feel with me and John doing the podcast, it's like it's got Keaton in it, it's got DeVito in it, and it is potentially it's going to be the only Tim Burton movie that gets released as we're covering the Tim Burton movies. So I guess we better watch it. So.
Yeah, I'm up for it.
I mean, I would say, I mean, I've seen about everything, but I haven't seen an elephant fly, so that's gonna be interesting to see.
So we should probably run off and start work on this now. We should head into the dark night. Darren, would you like to tell people where they can find you and your work online? I'm not sure what to say to promote. You've got so many shows.
Let's just narrow it down to the one that has occupied my life for 2 years and 530 podcasts, which is Prince Track by Track, which you can find on Twitter at Prince Podcast, which I'm very happy that I got that particular handle. and that I haven't been sued by the estate to get the handle off me at this point.
Coming soon.
Yeah, or you can find us on Facebook at Prince Track by Track. Or, as I say on my podcast, you could email me, not sure why you would, at princetrackbytrack@gmail.com.
That's a good point, actually. I never tell people they can email us. Guys, listening, you can email us. The email address is, well, unfortunately, it's last season's name because we didn't think about this. It's batminute89@gmail.com. So email us as well. We'll read them eventually. No, it will come straight to my phone. So do email. That'll be fun. And join us on the Batminute Listeners Cave on Facebook and tweet us at Batminute. And join us again next week. We will have more Batminute returns. Sadly, Darren won't be with us, but we will have an exciting new guest. See you then.
Next time, it's all over the front page. The Batman's got road rage. A cataclysm continues as the Cape Crusader's car is controlled by a carnage-craving criminal czar. But can our puppeteered pillar of justice begin to promulgate phonated proof of the Penguin's repugnant enterprises? Find out next week. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.